I want to do a quick review video of a Meraki MR33. So if you're not familiar, Meraki is a Cisco company and they make watts of networking gear. Specifically, this is the MR33 access point that we're going to look at today. Now, the first thing I do want to point out is that the box is really nice. It's not the most relevant thing, but they well package these devices. And when we flip the device over and we look at the back of it, same thing, the mounting bracket, which I'm going to take off here, well, nice, little spring on it. It comes with this little outline here, which has a little piece of 3M sticky. So when you want to align it, you can simply put this on here, put the screw holes in if you need to pre-drill them, or just drill them through here. And we have a level in case you want to make sure it's level when you're mounting it as a wall mount. Because unlike a lot of the other devices that I usually review, the Unifies, this is rectangle. So there's that. Now, pretty nice the way they have it gapped right here with the RJ45 port or a power adapter. So it does not come with a power adapter or a PoE or an injector, at least this MR33 didn't. But it does have an option so you can plug in a wall plug, or of course more likely you're going to be using this as a PoE. The next thing we notice in the box, and this is where I think they went kind of above and beyond. I gotta admit, this is pretty nice. This is the screw kit here, and I mean, this is really nice on the packaging. We have an Allen wrench here. We have the screws that are all individually placed right within this. That's kind of novel. We have the wall anchors, and these aren't cheap ones. These actually feel better than the ones you get like in the bulk packs from the Home Depots and the Lowe's. These actually feel pretty solid for wall anchors. And let me actually use this tool to get these rubber grommets out. So we also have these cushion rubber grommets, like to use as washers when you're mounting them. We have these as part of the clip-on on there. So this is really interesting. I mean, precision here is definitely the key. This Allen wrench is to adjust this, and this is a clamp down when you mount it with that, and it comes with a little bit of Loctite to keep those from wandering out. So I won't lie, they just do a great job of packaging. Now that's cool and all, but honestly, this is one of those things where I don't get too excited about boxes. I took the time to show you everything that it comes with, the smaller machine screws, the screws that go in here for the wall anchors, but honestly, when it's all said and done, you just want it really mounted, and you throw this all away. This all just goes in the garbage. But boy, it is cool to see all this, to see how they have that. And I don't think there's anything else in this box here. What else we got? We got a little pull tab here. So what's this? Oh, the book. So we got the start here, docs.meraki.com/mr, and I think there's something else here that now I need this. This tool's really handy for getting all the things out. So now we got this, and we got a book with some details in there that I'll probably never read. And wow, that is some really small print. If you don't have good eyes, I'm not old enough to have bad eyes yet, but I gotta admit that I can read this, but the print's really small. But I don't know who really reads the manual. We just go and ask questions in forums and things like that anyways. But nonetheless, it's nice the way they did this, nice the way it's all packaged like this. It's well put together, so hats off to them on design. But of course, that's not what you're here for. You want to know what the dashboard looks like. How does it work? How does it function? What does it cost? All those other important questions that mean a lot more to you than boxing, because, you know, we care about packaging. We want to make sure that the product arrives safe and sound and looks pretty. I like that they went with this because you don't probably expect this to be on a retail shelf anywhere. But at least you probably, you know, want it to arrive nice. It does have these little rubber feet on it, so even without having it mounted to anything, these rubber feet will allow it to sit and not just slide across the table easily. It's, you know, sits solid. So let's plug it in and show you the dashboard, because that's the interesting part, is how does the dashboard look? What does it cost? How does it work? How does it function? How does it compare? Well, let's jump into that right now. And for those of you wondering how I'm powering it, I have this handy 48 volt PoE that powers this just fine. And, you know, you may have heard of this company before. Okay, once it syncs up, the light turns green and we're online with it. Now, Here's a couple of the specs on here. This has 3 radios, 2.45 gigahertz dual band, 2 stream 802.11 AC, and up to 1.3 gigahertz. Interesting that it has an integrated Bluetooth BLE radio, 2x2 MIMO, 802.11 AC Wave 2, up to 1.3 gigahertz aggregate bandwidth and frame rate. So decent specs on this. This is not a bad, pretty modern Wi-Fi. Now, a couple of the interesting features it has is a layer 7 traffic shading, and it does have built-in mesh, but I don't have more than one of these, so I can't really test any of that, but it claims to be self-configuring, self-optimizing mesh. Now, let's jump into a little bit of the details related to this. Oh, also it does have a stateful 3 through 7 firewall. So we'll get into those features when we talk about the dashboard. Let's break down cost a little bit just so we're aware of what these cost and how they work. So the way the Meraki business model is here's the AP based on what you would pay for it from Meraki. I know there's probably elsewhere you could find it, but the MSRP from Meraki for the MR33 is $799. And we scroll down here, as I mentioned, it does not come with an AC adapter or a PoE injector. I'm kind of shocked, but their PoE injector is $149. I don't really understand why it's so expensive, but you could always just get the AC adapter for this if you don't have a PoE for only $29. Once again, these are MSRP prices from Meraki, not from what you would be paying if you hunted them down elsewhere, found them on sale, or this is prices as of October 2018 as well. Now, the last piece here is the licenses, and these are not optional. This is how the business model works for Meraki. You get 1 year for $150 per access point you have. And when you stop paying it, it turns off. That's the Meraki business model. You can save money by buying like a 3-year account or a 5-year account, and you pay these per access point, and they give you discounts based on quantities of access points. But the Meraki business model is there's no management on the Meraki itself. Everything you do with the Meraki is managed completely through their cloud system. And the minute you stop paying the bill is the same minute that it stops working. So that's one of the important distinctions with Meraki compared to some of the other ones. They don't have a local controller. They don't have a local interface. They don't have a separate feature set that you're paying for optionally. You either pay for the Meraki in total or it turns off. So you always have to pay. Now, this is good and bad. It depends on which environment you're in, but it's just a consideration for when you're buying these. It's something you have to think about, that you will have to pay to keep this thing functioning. And for a business or enterprise market, they give you a lot of nice features, but it's something to keep in mind. If you install 20 access points at a client, well, they have a licensing and price for that you will be paying annually in renewals to keep those functioning. And of course, you're probably forwarding the cost onto your client in that space. So what do you get for that? Let's jump into the actual dashboard itself. So because of the way the Merakis work with their dashboard, you get a very clear view of everything in a nice control panel. These systems auto provision. It's not like some of the other ones where you have to configure them or anything. When you buy the Meraki, you tie it to the control panel for the client, and away you go. Now, these control panels, I'm not going to get real in depth in, but the short of it is you have your view, and you can also share a client view in here. So it does have the ability to set this up so you can have your clients see things and manage things and break down different sites. This is actually called LTS test site. It also supports other things like network security appliances and switches, because Meraki sells more than just wireless. We're only going to focus on the wireless and the dashboard for the wireless for this video. But as you can see, it's, nice little dashboard, has some things on there. Here's my computer connected to it. So the system sees my computer. It says how I'm connected. It says capabilities of my alpha generic Linux driver, which I thought was kind of cool. It recognizes that I'm using the alpha, this one I did a review on. You can find on my channel. I'll leave a link below. USB 3 network adapter, and it says that it's on Linux. So it's got some neat tools built in that sees the details of here. Event log, I can see when my client had connected. I'm only client connected to the Meraki right now. You can then jump in here. I can say whitelist is blocked, group policy. You can apply, and it's basing it on each client, a policy to it. So you can apply layer 3 rules, layer 7 firewall rules, and traffic shaping rules to it. Currently, there's none applied to this, and we'll get into that in another menu. Another thing I thought was kind of novel is the system that this is plugged into is called 24-port switch rack. It recognizes a USW. It is a USW24 Unify switch. So it actually sees the name of the port description, which is studio top port, because the Meraki is sitting in my studio right now, and that's the port it is plugged into. The top port in the studio. It's referring to the switch panel that's in the studio for when we connect switches. So it's kind of neat. It's using this through the link layer LLDP data and pulling it from the switch, but it's nice that it tells me where it's plugged into. So even though it's not plugged into a Meraki switch, I still have some details pulled from the Unify over. So I thought that was kind of novel. You have location, and I put our address in, so it's on Pennsylvania Road here at our office. You have some tools where we can blink the LEDs, reboot the AP ping, or ping the AP, so we can get back and forth on there. We can run a trace route, and we can look at the ARP table of other things on the network that's connected to it. It also has the ability to take a look and do some troubleshooting for like the 5 gigahertz radio here, and just general details about utilization and usage. So they got some pretty decent tools here. You can look at some VLAN status, alerting status, DNS, DHCP failures. In an event log of just looking through each event, like from my system connecting, disconnecting, and associating with it. Like I said, I don't have any other clients connecting to this. Now we do have this option for maps and floor plans where we can load in some of this and create layers, satellite view even. There's my building, so kind of cool that it's got that. Air Marshal. This is kind of neat, so it'll find other SSIDs. It sees the other SSIDs in the office, other SSIDs that it found around, spoofing, malicious broadcasts, so it's kind of neat. Location heat map. And it will do some heat mapping. I don't have this all configured, but it generally figures out, okay, this is the heat map of this area. Let me see what else it sees. I'm guessing these are some of the devices around it that it's seeing. Won't let me zoom in any further. Splash logins. Now I didn't configure all of this, but this is setting up splash pages for the logins. That is an ability it has on there. Now I thought this was kind of novel, but it has PCI report options where you can do PCI DSS wire LAN compliance report for not applicable wireless. Not applicable is the name I have in case you're wondering what that is. When we first set it up, I didn't fill out every detail, so it just put NA or not applicable in some of the spots. Bluetooth clients. So it sees a few of the Bluetooth things that are in the office. That's kind of novel. It's for beaconing and things like that. If you're not familiar with beaconing, it can be used for advertising and things like that. So it does pick up and notice different Bluetooth clients in the office. RF spectrum. And it can look and see what other things are in the spectrum and utilization and interfering APs. So we can see the different ones and what they're interfering and what channels they're on. Wireless health. So health by client, by device type. It only sees the one. Average is less than 10 milliseconds when it checks. So it says I'm healthily connected to this AP right now. Now these are all the monitoring options. Now we're going to go over to the configuring options. So this is kind of neat. It's showing me 4, and I only have 1 configured SSIDs, but you say show all my SSIDs. You have the potential to configure up to 15 SSIDs, and of course they support a variety of functions. Now, if you notice here, and it's kind of small, but it says Meraki DHCP, you can configure these instead of as it bridging to your LAN, it has its own DHCP server built in, so it then can create its own networking per SSID. So you can create a series of different subnets, and then there's options to create rules in between here. So certain ones can have splash pages, certain ones can have other features, edit the settings, and you can kind of see going on from here. We can enable the SSID, reconfigure it, and go from there. So it's kind of cool. And then you just configure every little options. What's the sign-on method? And there's a lot of different sign-on methods that it supports. Access control. Now, this is kind of cool too, because this goes back to some of the sign-on pages when you want a splash page. So do you want non-direct access, which we chose, which we're just saying use a pre-shared key, but it does have options for click-through. So users must view and acknowledge your splash page before being allowed on a network. Great if you want a guest network. This is all built into and included with their dashboard. Sign on for Meraki authentication. Sign on with SMS authentication. So I thought this was kind of cool. So users enter a mobile phone number and receive an authorization code via SMS. After a trial period 25 texts, you'll need to connect with your Twilio account for network-wide settings. So they give you the first 25 texts, and then you have to connect to an account to do it. So it's actually not included completely in the dashboard. It does have Cisco identity services. System Manager enrollment, only device with System Manager can use this network, or billing or paid access. And it has options. I'm not going to go into the detail, but they have options for tying billing systems in with Meraki. Now, this is all being adjusted on a per SSID basis, just so you know up here. Now, this is NAT mode with Meraki, bridge mode, which is what we have, so we want to bridge so it's on our same network. But then you have other options like layer 3 roaming. Clients receive DHCP leases from LAN, but use static IPs in bridge mode. So you get a couple different options. You can also VPN tunnel across here, which I thought was kind of cool, and use the concentrator. You do have VLANs, VLAN tagging that can go on there. Now, the content filtering is kind of cool too. It's only in NAT mode, but when you put it in NAT mode, it does have its own content filtering and firewall options. So you can start doing other filtering options when you have it. So if you want to use this as a guest portal, you would turn those features on, and you could say just block these things, social networks, or block other features in the content filtering. So it's kind of novel that they have the ability to do that. Firewall and traffic shaping. So you are able to add layer 3 firewall rules in here, and layer 2 if you want. So if it's in isolation, you can actually use this, like I said, as a firewall. It also has layer 7, so you can actually say like gaming, news, blogging, and then all news, or you want to block certain ones. They have a couple named places, TechCrunch, MSN, Gizmodo, Fox News. And then you can choose the action of what you want on here. So the policy is deny news, deny all news, or just deny a single news outlet. Now, because you're doing all of this in Meraki's cloud dashboard, pushing it down, I will make the assumption that the Meraki system keeps this fairly up to date. When you're doing all these policies, and for some of the layer 7 routing, that it's going to be constantly, because this is a problem that you may run into, is if you get a device that doesn't receive constant feed updates, that's something you generally have to pay for with most firewalls, because if you don't get those feed updates, you don't get all the rules you need passed through, so things become outdated, things become irrelevant. Now, other cool things is it has built-in traffic shaping. So traffic shaping rules are per client bandwidth limit. You can set uploads and downloads and per client, per SSID bandwidth limits. And it also has shape traffic, enable traffic shaping. And now we get a new expanded. We can prioritize VoIP traffic, but lower advertising and software updates and online backups, prioritize WebEx and Skype, or prioritize video and music. Or create your own rules and build out some of your own rule sets for different options in here, and they have quite a few options that you can choose from. So you can choose like different options and networks, and expedited forwarding of voices, multimedia, latencies, and create, like I said, defined rules for how you want that traffic shaped. And because I'm not using it, but you do get the whole modern or fluid splash page. What these are is it allows you to create a very custom message, custom splash page for your guests that have to click through and access. So that's kind of neat. SSID of the Meraki 33, advertise this SSD, hide this SSID, per availability, enabled on some APs. This gets down to the fine grain control they want to give you. So you can say, I want this SSD across all the Merakis associated with this site, or only certain ones, maybe only in the front office, but not in the warehouse area, for example. So you could create fine-grained rules and do that. You can also schedule availability, and this maybe you only want the guests to work when you're open, and maybe you want your guests to turn off when you're closed. So kind of novel. Then we have Bluetooth settings. You got scanning on or off, advertising on or off. And this is using AP as location markers for information. And they have a documentation on this. And like I said, this is some of the advertising. So you can create these UUIDs for uniquely tied to things like, I think Facebook supports beaconing. I believe Google does as well. And what that can do is send beacons out to Bluetooth that are listening on a lot of phones that look for that as an advertising cue going, hey, we know you're at this location, because Bluetooth is shorter range, and it can go, we pinpoint that you're at this location and we want to beacon this information to you. And this can be for targeted ads, or just generally gathering data and statistics and tying this together with your ad campaigns from Facebook to a lot of other services. And finally, we have the radio settings. It's kind of neat how it works, because you have default profiles, but it was a little confusing because you can't click on this. This brings you back to the main page. This brings you back to a channel option. This brings you to the target power. You check the boxes here, and if there are multiple ATs available, select them all. You check the box, and then you go to edit settings, assign profiles. So they have a default indoor, a default outdoor, and if you I think you can scroll down, or there's another page here. No, there's some other profiles that you can find. I've played with them a little bit. So I've got it currently set to Tom 80 because I wanted to force it to a channel bandwidth of 80 versus auto. So this is the profile. And then next, and you can just check these boxes and it reprovisions it with whatever custom profile you did. Any other option that was in here. New profile, here we go. And you can start with one of these profiles here or create a new one from scratch. So open office profile, conference room, and each one has their merits of why you would want to do that. And then you can then hit customize and then name it yourself. So you can create a profile and you can assign it to all the access points in an area or just certain ones. So pretty slick. And it also has the ability to just update auto channels. And what this does is going to scan and give you ideas of the channels. Now, the last thing I'll cover is the firmware upgrades. So I find it odd that it says beta for the firmware upgrades, but it essentially handles them automatically. I believe you can do some scheduling, so you want to know when it'll do it. So right here's your schedule options. So you can actually schedule when they want to do any device, any type, any scheduler, so you can build your schedules out for this. The other kind of novel thing is you have stable release candidates or beta. So if you want to move these over to a beta, that is an option on here, and it does have the ability to roll them back when you're doing the firmware upgrades when you're choosing these. So pretty neat. That's a pretty good overview of how it works. Now, what do I think of the Meraki overall? I don't think this is a bad product. I've said this before. I think Meraki makes a pretty good piece of hardware. I'm less thrilled about it from the standpoint of you have to pay licenses or it doesn't work. And of course, you're subject at that point to completely whatever changes that are made by Meraki. If Meraki decides the license renewals go up, they go up. You don't have an option. You don't lose features based on turning the licenses off. You lose complete access to the device. But in a lot of business environments, all the extra features, the automatic dashboard, and never having to think about hosting or managing your own controllers or updating your controllers, that's what you're in trading for. So is it worth it for you to put everything in the cloud and magically let Meraki handle it? Maybe it is. And that's the decision you have to make when you're doing this. I'll be doing probably some other comparison videos because I know that's probably what people are looking for is some head-to-head against something like some of the UniFi devices. But for the most part, I did some general speed tests with it. I mean, it works as it says it does. I didn't do any long distance testing. That takes a little bit more time, and I'll be doing that later. But so far, everything about it, we tested here at the office. It didn't seem to have really any issues at all that I could note. I don't have any way to test the high density. I just don't have enough people to throw at it. But it is a pretty cool system. It does work as prescribed here. So I didn't find any gotchas with it. I didn't find any unusual systems with it. Matter of fact, I got to say it's really easy because when you don't have to think about having a controller or anything, you just give the money to Meraki, $150 a year, and it just works. So there is that. It's not a ton of money, but when you start looking at some of the deployments we've done that are very large, that I've done for like UniFi, where we talk about having, 40, 50, 60 units deployed. Well, now you start talking about 40, 50 times that license fee, which does go down at scale, but it still can add up. And we talk to people who are looking at other options because they go, wow, my Meraki bill right now is $15,000 annually every year. So it may be completely worth it to them, but it may be also worth it to look at something that does have a locally hosted controller option. But I gotta admit, all the layer 7 filtering built in, pretty cool feature. If you didn't have a firewall that did some of those features, being able to do it right at the access point per guest network, pretty slick. Being able to support 15 SSIDs, also pretty slick. So those are my thoughts on there. Go ahead and check it out. I'll leave links below, but obviously Cisco Meraki is well documented and easy to find information on. Thanks. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up. Leave us some feedback below to let us know any details, what you like and didn't like as well, because we love hearing the feedback. Or if you just want to say thanks, leave a comment. If you want to be notified of new videos as they come out, go ahead and hit the subscribe and the bell icon. That lets YouTube know that you're interested in notifications. Hopefully they send them, as we've learned with YouTube. Anyways, if you want to contract us for consulting services, you go ahead and hit lawrencesystems.com and you can reach out to us for all the projects that we can do and help you. We work with a lot of small businesses, IT companies, even some large companies, and you can farm different work out to us or just hire us as a consultant to help design your network. Also, if you want to help the channel in other ways, we have a Patreon. We have affiliate links. You'll find them in the description. You'll also find recommendations to other affiliate links and things you can sign up for on lawrencesystems.com. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.